What kind of coworker are you? And by what type of coworker I mean, are you someone that is toxic, or do you enhance everyone else's day? We've all been around that sort of person that just seems to have a pissy attitude. Everything sucks. It's hard to get them to cheer up, smile, engage other people, whatever it is. And they're just a big wet blanket to be around. And you do your best to avoid working with them, and if at all possible. And then we've also been around that type of coworker that is kind of like a game of Russian roulette. You really don't know what you're going to get from them on a daily basis. On one day they're great, they're fine, they're normal, they're pleasant. The next day you're avoiding them like the plague. And we talk about avoiding these sort of people and not putting them in our lives, but man, are you that person? If you don't work with anyone that's toxic, have you ever really evaluated yourself and decided, am I the toxic coworker? And how do you figure that out? Really, it's stuff about take accountability or try and track what your interactions are like with your coworkers. Are you pleasant with them? Are you kind with them? Are you condescending? Are you rude? Are you brief? When people have successes, do you rejoice with them? Do you let them know, hey, that's a great job. Oh man, I wish I could do it that well. I'm glad you're working here, and I'm glad we have someone with your skill set, whatever it is. And if you're a manager and you want to get the most out of your employees, one of the best ways to do it, in my experience, is to explain how their skill set is something that you don't have necessarily, and how beneficial it is to have them there, and how they maybe even make up for your weaknesses. As someone who works as a superintendent for a construction company full time, I'm constantly hiring people that know how to do things better than I do. And it's my job to try and direct them to do what it is that they're doing professionally, but they're better at it than I am. And one of the ways that I try very hard to endear myself to them is to defer to them and say, what do you think? I mean, you're the professional, you're better at this than I am. Can we come up with something, a solution as a group, as a team? And rather than being like, oh, this is the way it's got to be done, and this is what I think it needs to be, and whatever. Now you can say, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. How can we make it work within this scope? And then you allow them to come up with a solution, and then be grateful, praise. Thank you so much. Great job. I couldn't do that without you, clearly. So think about that sort of stuff as a manager or as a coworker, or if you're a member of a team or a study group in college. Those of us who've been to college and had to work in study groups have all had that person in the group that just sits around and does nothing. We've also had that person that takes control, dominates the conversation in the group, and tries to do everything and won't let you have input. You got to find a balance in there. You got to be a member of a team. We've heard too many chiefs, not enough Indians, or just a bunch of Indians and no chiefs. Do we have a good structure? Do you have a good working relationship with those you work with? And if you don't, you either need to figure out how to do it and how to work with those people you I don't know, in your team, or find a new job. I mean, that's the reality. If it's not going to work out and you're working with toxic people, or you just can't get along with the people you're working with, maybe you need to transfer or find a different type of job. Better that than just sit there in a toxic working environment where they don't like you, you don't like them, you guys just don't get along well together, and it just makes everyone's life more miserable. And then as a result, your product is going to suffer. You're going to have less effective sales or production or whatever it is you do for work. So think about that. Think about what you can do. Think about your relationships with your coworkers, with your classmates, whatever it is, and try and avoid that toxic environment, and try and become someone that's a little bit better at praising and lifting other people up. Something to think about.